Hi, it's your host Nia Scobie and welcome back to Paisley Radio's Spill the Tea show. Today I'm live from the studio and have a very exciting show lined up for you. Today I'm joined by a man who's changed his life around immensely. We've got Allan McCarthy live in the studio.
Hi Nia, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I've not been in Paisley during the daytime for years, and it's so changed the town. I couldn't believe the Paisley Centre, things like that. It's absolutely like a ghost town.
Yeah, as there's nothing in there anymore.
I was shocking because it used to be like the O2 shop and Virgin and things like that, and
everything shop.
Thorntons and all that. You know what I mean?
So would you like to tell us a bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, I'm from Barrhead. I left quite young. I went to sort of college and university in Glasgow. I did Glasgow Tech before it became famous and became Glasgow Caledonian.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like the students' union stuff. I was running the Glasgow Tech. I was the entertainments manager, and progressed from there to running sort of club nights in and around Glasgow. If you're of a certain age, you'll remember things like the Mardi Gras, the Warehouse, the Cotton Club. Well, I ran the nights and them. I also took buses through. Before it was trendy to do club nights, we were doing taking people through to the Electric Circus in Edinburgh, Fat Sam's in Dundee. And it got to about 21 or something like that. I hadn't been overseas apart from my mum and dad. And suddenly decided, let's go abroad. I ended up in Costa del Sol and this and that, and a few years later I found myself staying for a lot longer than planned, as I was allegedly, I was convicted of sort of narco trafficking, drugs trafficking, Cafula, hash, and I got a 6.5 year sentence. Not content with that, they decided to fine me 65 million, which was a bit interesting, you know. And while I was there, I was quite, I wouldn't say it was bad, but I wasn't very obeying the rules and things like that. And had it not been for someone, there was a sort of music monitor who it turns out was a sort of famous Spanish jazz guitar player who played all over the world. He took me under his wing and started a little guitar workshop. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, there was a national music competition going on in Spain. It would be the equivalent of the X Factor or something like that now. Yeah. And they said, well, why don't you go in for that? And at that point, we had a couple of Spanish guitars, the acoustic guitars, and that was it. And it was sort of there's a guy in the kitchen, he plays electric guitar too. And eventually they bought us a couple of guitars, bass and drums. And we got the drums on the Saturday night. The drummer hadn't even played them. And we went along to play in the women's prison because it was an open day. So all the families and the kids come in, really nice atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And we only had 3 songs. They asked me to write a song. We played La Bamba and Twist and Shout, which are the same songs, so you can play them for ages. And we did Europa by Santana, which is instrumental because nobody wanted to be the singer. And what we didn't know was this was on a programme called Chickalandia. We were wondering why people were there with video cameras and all that. It turns out we're on Spanish equivalent of the Ant and Dec show on Sunday morning. All right. So we hadn't even really played together, and we're on front of national TV. And this started a sort of precedent. The following week, we were asked, could we do 2 songs? We were like, okay. And we played live in front of about 3 different radio stations. Mm. And by week 3, and I don't know how they justified it, we were on Las 40 Principales, the top 40 show in Spain, doing 3 songs. But we didn't have a song out. We weren't in the charts. Yet we were on, and they just stopped the whole programme, put us on live, and that was it. So things sort of evolved, and obviously the sort of prison authorities are milking the thing for all it's worth. Look, we've done this and done that. But what they didn't realise is we won the competition. So at that point, they had to let us out. Yeah. And I'm not convicted or nothing, so this is a major problem for them. And the prize was to go to a recording studio and record the record, which we did. And I didn't know this because obviously there was a lot of things happening, but I met up with the actual engineer last year, and that's what kicked this whole thing off again. He found our old tracks, and he said, you couldn't have believed it. You wouldn't have realised you were in the studio. The whole of our street, imagine Paisley Main Street, was just cop cars, armoured cars, police vehicles, and then you've got all the press, then you've got all the guards off duty, all the families and things like that. So the whole street, he says, he thought he'd been invaded. And St Paul, some of the stories that are behind it, there's just one I was thinking of. I only found out when I met up with all the sort of old prison officers last year that there was actually a getaway car outside for the bass player. And nobody thought to tell me that. And he's went and played, and he actually liked it. So he's got a message out to his mates: don't break in with the the shooters and all that. I like it. We'll do it the next time. Mm-hmm. Nobody thought to tell me that, and so we've recorded that, and we're obviously getting lots of airplay and things like that. And it was like, we're going to become rock stars. This is amazing. And they'd got it. So I was just about to go into the open prison. And that would have sorted everything out. We've got a record deal set up. We're going to do tours. We're going to do this. We're on every newspaper that's going. Chap in the door, and there's one of the guards that didn't particularly like me. He was like, you're going to Carabanchel. And I'm like that. No. Carabanchel is like the bogeyman. That's like Alcatraz in Spain. If you've been a bad boy, that's where you go. Mm-hmm. You don't go there unless you have been extremely bad. Now, I'm just at the end of my sentence. I'm supposed to be going to the open prison. Instead, I wake up in maximum security in Madrid. And it's at the same time as they watched the programme Narcos on Netflix. That's set when I was there, the late 80s, early 90s. So you can imagine there's people getting murdered on a daily basis and things like that. And nobody knows where I am. They just took me away, didn't tell anybody where I was, and only found out this last year. And I thought, I was a bit upset that nobody had any correspondence with me. None of the social workers or the guards that had been looking after us, they've just let me go. They actually got told by someone that my dad had won the national lottery and had paid the 65 million fine. So I got out early, and I was like that. One, there's no national lottery in Scotland in the 80s. And two, if my dad had 65 million quid, the last thing he's going to do is pay it, to get me out 6 months early. You know what I mean? So that was that. That paid to the music career. I got then deported, which was, again, another sort of thing I didn't find out until like last year when I met up with the prison staff. I hadn't worked out. I never thought about it, because when you get out of prison, you don't dwell on all the paperwork and things like that. You're just happy to be out. I never thought, how would I be deported? Because I was meant to be going on and having this music career, which I wouldn't be doing if I was deported. They actually got a letter from the Director of State Security for Spain. I've got the paperwork, I can show you. And it's saying that they were deporting me because I was considered a threat to Spain's internal security and a threat to Spain's relationships with other friendly countries. So they sent me away, that was it. And I came back here. I was actually working in Paisley. I was doing advertising for various magazines not far from here for 30 odd years. I moved over to Spain about 6 years ago with my partner at the time, and she had been sort of nipping my head, going like, you keep going on about you played in a band, you're only round the corner for it, why don't you go and have a look? Tomorrow. So she eventually dragged me up to the studio. The studio had moved since then, but we eventually tracked it down. And the producer, who is now quite famous, Pepe Moreno, he's done like loads of sort of famous Spanish bands since then. He's answered the door. It's a big villa and all that, and there's the gate, and pressing the buzzer. I recorded here, and I speak fluent Spanish all these years ago, and he's like, nah, we don't have any, away you go. And he just said as the last thing, what band was it? And I said Berlin 90. He's literally come running down the stairs, opened the gate, the dogs are barking everywhere, and he's hugging me and dancing in the streets. He couldn't believe it. He thought I was dead. And that kicked off a lot of things. One of the sort of DJs that had sort of promoted us in the early days, because he was like, the same as yourself, like Angel Cepena was like, just starting out his career as a DJ. Mm. And what happened was when we became famous, like they wouldn't send a reporter up from London just to do a thing on us. So he was getting streamed on all the radio stations, and then he was doing reports in the papers. So he became famous at the same time as us. Mm-hmm. And he continued. I didn't know he's still going 30 years later. And the whole time in between, he's been posting stuff about me. And I didn't know anything about it. It was his anniversary 3 years ago. And he's like the equivalent of John Peel, probably before your time, the sort of most respected DJ for all the rock fans and all that. he has got a column in all the national papers. He's on the TV because it's his 30th anniversary, and all he keeps talking about is, what's your favourite memory? Meeting Allan McCarthy in the band Berlin. And that's on about a dozen different TV programmes and newspapers. But they all thought I was dead. Never did anything of it. So about a year after getting the recordings back, my ex-partner is still knitting my head going, have you not done anything about it? I was just happy to send it to my pals. See, I told you I was in a band. That was it. Sent it off to this guy, Uncle Sabena, who's been posting everywhere about me, and nothing comes back. A week goes, nothing comes back, and I'm going, what a cheeky. You know what I mean? He's melting me for everything, and there I am. And I get this phone call about 1 o'clock, Sunday night going into the Monday morning. It's Angel Cepena on Messenger, because it was, will you accept this call? And I'm like, I don't know who it is, and it's him. He'd only been in Manchester on holiday for 2 weeks, doing a tour of all the Manchester bands. He's got back, opened his email, seen it's me. I'm in the radio station the next morning. We've recorded a show, which went out that night, 40 minutes, just talking. Just the two of us in the middle of the rock show programme. No adverts, no nothing, 40 minutes. And as we're walking out, we get grabbed by, it's lunchtime, we're recording it, we get grabbed by the sort of Radio 1 lunchtime presenter, and we've done 15 minutes live. By the time we've got back to the place where I'm staying, there's posts everywhere and all that. Next morning, I get a phone call from the record producer that did us years before. He said, I've got a pal that works on a different radio station that wants to do an interview. And I'm like, yeah. Don't think, oh, it's just local radio. I didn't know it's Spain's equivalent to Oprah Winfrey, Julia Otero. She is like TV presenter, national. She does like the Oscars and all that. I'm on there talking as though I'm just talking, anything. The next thing, I'm in a double page spread in the Evening Times, the Barrhead News, the Herald, and the National, all in the same week. And we didn't know anything about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the article, the DJs put the article in the Spanish newspaper the week before Christmas. He says it's going in the local paper. He sent me like a PDF of it. So I've just got a Word document and the picture. And I think that's like quarter-page advert, and whatever. It's not. It's a double-page spread that's went into something like 24 different newspapers on the Sunday as a double-page spread. 23 million copies. And each one of them has put it on their website. You can still go on, if you look at my website, berlin90.com, you can see it. It's on all these. And it's not only in one language, it's in about 5 different languages, because you've got Basque, you've got Catalan, you've got Mallorquin, you've got the English version. And we're totally unaware this has happened. I'm thinking, no, I'm in the local paper. Because I'm living on a golf resort, it's like quite insular. It's not as though people come running up and asking for autographs or we see the paper, because they don't buy Spanish newspapers.
Yeah.
And any of the Spanish people are usually working when the radio programmes went out, So I'm just walking about thinking, and that's brought us up to now.
Yeah. Do you sit back now and laugh about it, or how do you reflect on your journey?
I just think it's quite, the universe is quite, karma's a funny thing, you know what I mean? If it's meant to be, we thought it was going to happen like 30 odd years ago. And look, it's got to be the longest time for ever a record to come out, 30 odd years. And the one thing was, somebody asked me, were you released before that? And I said, yeah, thankfully.
Yeah. Do you have any musical influences that inspired you to start your career in music? When
I was listening, it was all sort of rock bands and things like that.
Yeah.
Initially, because it was into sort of heavy rock and things like that. But when I was growing up, 80s in Glasgow, it was amazing, because you'd Simple Minds, Orange Juice, Aztec Camera, Deacon Blue, Associates, Blue Nile. If I've forgotten MD, I'm sorry. But all those bands were all just starting. It was really amazing in Glasgow in the 80s. I was on the other side of it. I was promoting the bands for the Students' Union, but I got to see all these bands and used to go, I'd be working in the clubs, on the door and things like that. We did, I was security and helped with the sound for Simple Minds on the Waterfront video, because it was Glasgow Tech. They asked us, because they needed somebody to do the roading and provide security. So we all went up to the Barrowlands. I think it was the first ever concert at the Barrowlands. And they filmed it, and that came out as the video for On the Waterfront. That was nice. and they're still going. I felt really old in Spain the other year, and I seen it was Simple Minds' 40th anniversary tour. And I'm like going, never mind 40th anniversary, I knew them when they were called Johnny and the Self-Abusers. I seen them playing, so puts my age. Yeah.
Would you say it has changed your life though, from what your life was like before?
The music thing?
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't had any effect yet. I'm doing plenty of interviews, but I mean, I'm back living in Barrhead, where I was born, in a rented flat.
Is it nice to be back in your hometown?
It's a bit strange, to be honest, because normally you leave and you come back, and it is a bit surreal coming back and like seeing your picture in the paper, the Barrhead News, and honest to God, I've not had one person come up to me and saying, "I've seen you in the paper." So I don't know how many people read the Barrhead News, but obviously none of my friends.
Well, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
We'll be playing Runaway by Berlin.
Thank you.
90.
I've been crazy too long, it's time to start. Find myself, find out where I'm going. Things have changed, now I finally see the light. Don't know what I've been hiding from. Don't know where I've been going wrong. All I know is it's time to pack my bags. When everything gets too much for me to stand, I just leave it all behind and head out for that promised land. And I just run, 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 run away. Run, 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 run away. Run, 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 run away tonight. Little girl, who are you waiting for? Just in your eyes, standing by the door. Romeo, he ain't coming round tonight. Mama's crying, how she drives you wild. Papa's yelling, you're only still a child. But you know, well, it's time to find a light. When everything gets too much, you got a choice. Listen to that voice inside your head that's